Yo, what up? It's Caeln here, and today we're going to be reacting to a very special video that I saw. It's a video by someone I've been following recently, Kim. He does a lot of MMO videos and all that type of stuff, but today we're going to be focusing on some of his real life content. So yeah, let's get into it.
What's up, guys? It's your boy Damone, and welcome back to another video. Today, guys, we're directing this towards you guys. As I mentioned before, in these motivational videos and stuff like that, I won't even really call it motivational, but I guess a dose of hard truth.
It's funny. It's funny that he doesn't call it motivational because we have another video here that motivation is for quitters. Okay. So this guy has a very different and unique outlook on a lot of the normative terms that we have out there, like motivation and work and this and that and dreams and all that, right? And this 9 to 5 or chase your dream. I'm just gonna guess you gotta do one or the other. It's gonna be great.
I mentioned that if you guys had any questions or anything that you guys wanted to ask me directly as a creator or as somebody who's been through quite a bit of experience in my life, and you wanted me to kind of talk about it in a topic or subject, definitely would be wanting to respond to that, and we're going to do that in the first form today. So today we're focusing on a comment from Caeln. We're just going to read through this. I'll put it on the screen so you guys can read it along with me, and then I'm going to give my take on this, okay? So Caeln says, once again, man.
Okay, fuck, these subtitles are in the way now. Of course. Once again, man, Christian with inspirational. I would love to hear your take on doing something you love or passionate about versus taking the 9 to 5 because it pays the bills. I spent my entire life not sure what I wanted to do, how I was going to do it, or if I would even make it. I just knew I did not want to live like I was raised. So I graduated high school, went to a community college, got a degree that I knew I could land a job that would make enough money that I did not have to worry about being homeless or paying the simple bills. However, COVID hit and I was working from home. Blessed I still could. Then started making content on mobile games. Since I've been making content, and I fell in love with it. So much so, I want to do it full time. Not to be famous, not to make tons of money, but just enough money to replace my 9 to 5. To give me more time with my family and to allow me to be creative. I struggle with making the move. I know once I leave the 9 to 5, I have no choice but to make it. Not only for me, but for my wife and son. Ooh, yeah, that's a tough one. I know that absolute worst case scenario, I would be the best damn stalker target has ever seen. The question is, why can't I make the move? Why does it still seem like a risk or that I am selfish in wanting to do this versus just sticking to the easy 9 to 5 job with a raise each year? Well, I think that's a very interesting question. I think morally right now what we'd have to look at is how quick could you make the switch? As in, are you actually making any money at all right now? And if you are, you probably could make a little bit of a switch, but you could probably go to part time and still do this, and then slowly taper off. That would be my suggestion. I'm currently dealing with a bit of work stuff, so I'm not the best person to deal with advice on, but I would say half your work time, spend more of your time on you're trying to make it into a job or a way to make money, and then you can leave your job. But I think if you can't do a clean break switch, it's going to be one of those softer swaps of a transition, because like you say, you need the money and you have a family to support, and it does sound like you do have a lot of passion here for this, so I do think you do need to keep it up. But in practicality, I do think that just leaving the job before you're making money isn't the the best idea. And I hope he opines on this a lot too. And I'm sure he will because he's a content creator and I'm fucking not. But yeah, let's get back into the video.
And crushing it with the inspiration. Would love to hear your take on doing something you love or passionate about versus taking the 9 to 5 because it pays the bills.
So he's basically
I've
just reading
spent
what we
my
read.
entire life not sure what I wanted to do, how I was going to do it, or even if I would make it.
From a nice
I
cup.
just knew I did want to live life like I was raised. So I graduated.
Sorry, got this nice cup. It says I pooped today. Pooped today. I did it twice today, so I get a big cup.
High school, went to community college, got a degree. I knew I could could land a job and what would make enough money that I did not have to worry about being homeless or paying the simple bills. However, COVID hit and I was working from home. Blessed I still could, and started making content on mobile games. Since I've been making content, I fell in love with it so much. I wanted to do it full time, not be famous or make tons of money. But just enough money to replace my 9 to 5 to give me more time with my family and allow me to be more creative.
Ooh, and another thing here. Right, so we can see here it says not tons of money, but enough to replace my 9 to 5, right? But then we have up here 9 to 5, and we went into entire life. Wasn't sure I wanted to do what I wanted to do, or even how I wanted to. I just knew I did not want to live like I was raised. So it appears that you graduate high school to go to a community college to further your degree, right? You got a degree that I knew I could land a job that would make me enough money that I did not need to worry about being homeless or paying the simple bills. So here, we're not just talking about a casual job. You know, we're talking about a job where you need a degree to get into, which probably has a bit more merit, you know. So there's a lot more money attached there. It's not just like your average $12, $15 an hour job nowadays. It's probably like more around, I don't know, I'm going to say like $26 an hour. I don't know what this guy's making. To have a degree, I'd feel like you should at least start out with $26 an hour. It could be fair. Could not be. I don't know. That's just my take on the dog shit working world. Let's see what his is.
With making the move, I know once I leave the 9 to 5, I have no choice but to make it. Not only for me, but for my wife, for my son. I know that absolute worst case scenario, I would be the best damn stalker Target has ever seen. The question is why can't I make the move? Why does it still seem like a risk? Or am I being selfish in wanting to do this versus just sticking to the 9 to 5 job with a raise each year?
Well, I mean, the answer there is it is a risk. It always will be a risk. You know, like, there's zero guarantee. Like, if you can't just, you know, let's say you want to be YouTube. You can't just say, all right, I'm going to make videos, and then there's not like an algorithm of you put in 10-minute videos a week and you get out $400. You know, there's not a system like that. So I think the risk is always inherent when you're doing something like this. So no matter what, the risk will be there. You know, let's say you were into a mobile game and then all of a sudden it got discontinued or something. Well, there goes your audience, you know, blah, blah, blah. I mean, you can do it for a little while and the controversy and this and that, maybe the APK, but still, I don't feel that it's never not risky. It depends. We don't really know if there's any more than just mobile game content or what the degree of the content on the mobile games is, but I could imagine it would be based on the mobile game itself and not the market of mobile games, making it a lot more niche and nuanced to maintain that audience, unless you did it over a wider variety of games, in which case you could sort of have a sustainable living, because if one game goes down, you just have 5 or 10 more you're still doing. But yeah, let's continue.
Okay. So this was kind of tough, right? Because there's a lot really that goes into this. Could be insecurity. It could be, a what if. It could be managing an image for your family. It could be a lot of things. But I think ultimately...
Yeah, I think that's also a big one too, is especially, not just with a wife, but also with a son. You know, you do feel that that social pressure, that masculine pressure to feel like you're performing at your best and to feel like you're doing the best and showing the best for your family and your child, so they don't end up in the position that you said you were in, where you didn't want to live like you grew up, right? Now I'm just going to say that's probably your fear. You don't want to have things repeat in case you make a mistake or this or that. You don't want to be the one who's the head of the household who just gambles it all away, right? You don't want to just blow your chance on the wind, you know. So I think that's where you're really feeling it. It's with the family and less about your own security, I'd say at this point, and more about everyone else's in your family's security.
What this is a result of is not committing to making a decision, right? So you haven't decided what you want to do because there's not enough pain in your life yet in order to force you to make the decision. So you just haven't made it. It's easy.
I think that's a very, very wise point there. It's not to say that if you haven't gone through pain and you make a decision, it'll always be the wrong one. It's to say that with the pain that you will have inevitably gone through, it will guide you into showing you what pain you feel will be worth it and what pain you wouldn't feel worth it, right? Like there, you know, people give birth and like, oh, I could do that again. You know, it's like, and you're thinking, what the heck, right? But then there's people who are like, I don't want to do this job. It's awful. And it's just like, well, it's a job versus childbirth, and you can see the metric, but it's all about what you get out of it. And at the end of the day, if you're not getting respect and this and that from the job, it's just not worth it.
Easier to keep the job and be comfortable and just do the little thing that you do, hoping that your channel's going to blow up or something might happen for you, where that it makes it easier for you to justify to the people that you love that you're going to do the thing that you should have been doing already anyway.
Oh, absolutely.
So what this boils down to is my question to you is how important is this actually to you? Because yeah, you work a 9 to 5, but the reality is you have a lot of time. So 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If you're working 9 to 5, let's say you got 8 hours there, you got 8 hours of sleep, right? You still got 8 hours left, right? Even if you spend time with the kid, you know, kids really ain't gonna want nothing to do with you after a certain amount of time. With your wife, it ain't really that long. You still have about 4, maybe 5 hours left, give or take, to do stuff.
Yeah, it's
right?
like 1 or 2 raids.
So
Maybe.
let's say you spend 2 hours or 3 hours making a video, and after that's done, you're like, okay, I did the minimum that I needed to do today, and then you move on. The reality is, though, is you could be cranking out a lot more content. And see, this is a hard pill for me to swallow that I had to learn about YouTube myself. If you take a metric and you look at YouTube, YouTube says, if I make 2,000 views a day and I make $10 a video, if I want to make $200 a day, then I need to figure out a way to make 20 videos a day to make the videos that I am making more effective.
Amen.
Now, unfortunately, in the beginning, you're not really going to know how to do that because you have to get the education, right? As time goes by, what you do is you make up for what you lack in experience with action. So if you got to make 1 million videos a day, you just make it to cover the spread, because if you really, really wanted to make more money, or you had to make more money, you would figure it out. But your blessing is your 9 to 5. But your 9 to 5 is also your curse.
Yeah.
And what you're doing is you're using your 9 to 5 as an excuse for not doing what you need to do anyway. There's always a way. If you had to find it, let's say your wife, when you know, was like, I'm gonna leave you, or you know, take the baby, right? If you don't do X, you would figure out a way, right? No matter what would happen, you would figure out a way to make it.
Well, assuming you loved your wife and the baby, you know.
Work. But right now, you don't have that pressure. You lack that pressure to figure out a way to make it work. So right now, you're just coasting. You're comfortable. And the reality is you could do more. You could absolutely do more. If it was that important to you, you would figure out a way to make it work. And if you can't or won't or refuse to figure it out, it might just not be that important to you at all. So the reality is you don't have to drop the 9 to 5 if you don't want to, but you definitely do have to bust your ass on the thing that's more important to you. Like, don't give up what you really want for what you just want right now. What you want right now is comfort. What you really, really want, though, is success. And stop playing yourself down. Like, I don't want to make tons of money. That's bullshit. You want to make tons of money, famous or not, it doesn't fucking matter, right? What matters is that you put yourself out there, you get to fucking work, and you get the numbers that you want to see. You got to be the person that you want to be, not hope and wait for things to get better, because they're not. Things are just going to stay the same. And, you know, if you make more money, you're just going to spend it, and you're just going to keep yourself in the situation until you take action to change this shit. Because I know you don't want to work your 9 to 5 forever. So work the 9 to 5 at, you know, while you need to, or whatever the fuck, and put the time in to make it so you can change yours and your family situation. Because listen, if you know, as the head of the household, bro, settling is not an option, bro.
Yeah,
So,
it's bullshit.
anyway, hopefully this was able to answer your question. I just want to give it to you real. You know, I appreciate, you know, what you're doing and what you're trying to do, but you got to stop with the excuses and the bullshit and get to work. All right.
Yeah, I think that's a very good video. I do think that, yeah, you know, keep your 9 to 5 until you feel comfortable with the money you're making on the other one, you know. But it definitely would seem like a better option to keep your 9 to 5. For now. Yeah, but now we got more great videos. I had them up here, but I don't think I'm gonna watch this one. We're gonna watch this one, which I've seen before, but I want to give you my thoughts on this. And then we have an all new one. Motivation is for quitters. So over here, play the video.
Ramon, and welcome back to another video. Today's topic of conversation is not letting your why be your why not. Okay, so let me give you some examples of that. Let's say you want to start a business, or you want to start, you know, a YouTube channel.
I mean, this makes a lot of sense. Basically, I'll tell you my example at the end here. Let him speak, but it is really important to, like with the last one, right? You know, he said like over here, it's like, right? He said that it's literally a curse, right? He said like, you know, your 9 to 5 is also your curse for, it's holding you back from chasing your dream, you know. So it's don't let your why be your why not, right? You're doing your 9 to 5 for the money, but you're making your 9 to 5 hold you back from your money of chasing your dreams, right? So there's that, right? So he'll go more into that here.
Or you want to get into social media, or you want to create opportunities for your family, or you want to make more money, or you want to get more girls, or, you know, whatever the case may be for you. Typically speaking, when you decide that you want to do something, right? Let's say you want to get in shape, right? Because that's what I'm doing right now. I'm like, hey man, you know, I want to get in shape. That's why I'm going to the gym.
Yeah.
But then let's say it's time to go to the gym, and then you say, the reason I'm not going to the gym today, even though I'm supposed to, is because I'm not in shape. Right? As silly as that sounds, it actually happens. Or let's say you're starting a business, and you're like, I want to create a business because I want to create financial freedom for myself and for my family, and I want to control my time. But then I'm like, hey, yo, why aren't you, you know, working on your product, creating your product offer? Or why aren't you, you know, putting out videos or whatever? And the reason you tell me that you don't put out videos or you're not working on your business is because you don't have any time, right? It's kind of counterintuitive. And the reason I say that is because the reason why you're grinding extra, or you're working on yourself, or you're working to become a better version of yourself, is to gain the freedoms that you seek. But if you
So basically, an example that I thought of in interviews a few times with a few people is right. I'm really bad at communicating, you know, but I'll say, you know, I'm not really good at it. People really don't understand me. This and that. I don't make a lot of sense when I talk. I sound like Kanye. I sound like Ye. Actually, that's his name. No, blah blah blah. Whatever. You know, it's just a little really a pickle when I speak. I put my foot in my mouth. But by saying that, you know, I'm then like promoting myself to not speak and promoting the problem, right? But if I say, listen, I know I'm not good at communicating, but we're going to use that to say why this conversation isn't good, but why we're pushing through it, right? So you'll have the conversation because you're not good at it to push through to become better. You're not gonna not have the conversation because you're not good at it because it's gonna make you look bad. No, that does nothing. It's like not trying because you don't want to. I don't know. It's I don't know. It's it's saying that something is nothing when it's not nothing, because you yourself haven't given it any value. But the issue is the value doesn't come from what you give, it's the value that you get from it. Right? So even if you don't think you're getting value, or the value is inherently there, it will slowly build, right? Like with confidence, or other things, it's it's really difficult to allow yourself, almost, to try to be free, because you don't have any control in the situation of things most of the time. You're just sort of using your disability, almost your disadvantage in a situation, as a crutch, and sort of saying, oh well, this is how it is, to enable yourself to be the way you are. But that's not how it should be. um, you should say, this is what I am, and that's a thing. But because that's a thing, there are certain things that are difficult and certain things that are easier. And we know that. So pushing forward, we can say, oh, well, this was difficult for you, so we shouldn't opine on it as much, because it's not, I mean, obviously, but we should learn to gauge the differences of people differently based on what their values are, like the projected values over the expected values. Yeah.
You use the prison that you're currently
Yeah.
in as an excuse to not take action on the freedom, well, you're just justifying the action and you're just wasting your time. This is a very, very important thing, because I've done this for myself. I've done this to myself before in the past, and it can become really, really, really crippling if you continue to do it. So if you find yourself really in a situation that you're constantly excusing the fact that you're not taking action, you got to readjust, or you have to accept the fact that it might not be that important to you. So on that note, you just got to stop lying to yourself, and or find something else that you actually really want to do.
Yeah. And actually on that,
Stop lying to yourself, and or find something else that you actually.
I've been dealing with a little bit of communication myself. Sort of struggling with how to talk to people. I feel, when you feel less than someone, and when you feel in a lower position, it feels very difficult to try to confront certain issues in ways. And I'm not the best at sort of stating those issues in a way that makes sense as to why they happened to me, and not to sound like a justification for why I did it, but the justification for why it upsets me that I can't do something else. I just completely stunlock myself in the fear that I will say something that someone will again misinterpret as me trying to usurp their power in the conversation, and say this or that, and it's like, no, you need to do it this way because I'm saying that, and I have all these things that make it seem like this should be possible, so you should do it. I'm not saying that. I will never be saying that. I will only be saying, you have these things in place and these systems and things, and this is enforced in this way, and it made me feel that this is how this should have been. So when it wasn't like that, you could see my frustration coming from these other things. It's I find it frustrating to talk, especially with my therapist too, because I will not be allowed to present things in a ambiguous way to try to get a metaphor out there. I'm prompted to, well, can you try to tell me it straight? But I don't know it straight. I know what I mean. I feel like I'm falling with a parachute, and the parachute is my analogies and metaphors, But when you're telling me to just say it how it is and present it in such a way, I feel like I'm just skydiving parachuteless. And to me, that doesn't feel respectful to me. But the fact is that you're asking me to then sort of respect you because you feel unrespected in that manner. So it becomes a sort of I'll stop when you stop and you stop when I stop. And I just shut myself down because I just can't deal with it. Like, at the end of the day, I'm going to say, I'm a lowly peon, you know. Uh, Me making a mistake is less important than, like, let's say the president or the God making a mistake, right? You know, it's like, we could we not, to some degree, embody that the volume of a mistake that I make is less impactful, not less impactful, but less of a no than if someone who presents themselves as being responsible and putting themselves in a higher position of power does make a mistake. You know, a good example of this would be a sick patient. You know, they're super sick, you know, that they miss their alarm because they're super groggy and they can't sleep the next night. And then, you know, doctor calls them, hey, you missed your appointment. That'll be $127. And you go, sure, my fault, my apologies. Your doctor, you know, the one who has a schedule, they have everything on a calendar, they, you have an appointment with them. Only this time, you show up, and they don't. What happens? Oh, I'm terribly, terribly sorry. You must not have gotten the information. I thought it was gotten to you. Blah blah blah. Terribly sorry. Accept the apology. That's all you're getting. You're not getting anything else. You're not getting a reimbursement for your time or money. And so there's this disproportional feeling, you know, of justification. Of even if you are justified, it makes the other person feel less justified because of how one-sided it is. You know, yes, a doctor's time is important, but so is everyone else's. It's the degrees of our systems we almost don't really exist, like tangibility, right? Like, you have something that's completely see-through, you know, completely transparent, you know, and that'll be the rules, right? And then the next day, it'll be a different group of people in, and a different manager, or different this and that, and then all of a sudden it turns into a brick wall of rules, you know, and to me, that part is the unjust part, the unequal, I mean, I guess, you know, it's whatever, you know, because it's like we have different courts with different judges, but at the end of the day, it's still a shitty basis. Like, no one wants the only store in town to be a luxury goods store, meaning they have to drive 30 minutes out of town to the next city just to get reasonably priced things, right? Stick with me, this analogy. If you can do something, it doesn't mean that you should if the lower levels aren't being accommodated first, right? There was a beautiful, beautiful thing I'm gonna look up here. It's like the hierarchy of needs. Yeah, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Pull it up here. Bada boom. Bada boom. There's some pictures of it. But basically, yeah, so here's it. So basically, the needs at the bottom need to be met before the needs at the top, because everything will sort of fall apart. Look, it's psychological needs. You literally need this stuff in order to not want to kill yourself. And this, you also need to not want to kill yourself, but not to the same degree. And then this, you need to not want to kill yourself. And then this, you definitely need self-esteem to not want to kill yourself. And then self-actualization, the thing that makes it so you feel like you're not a fucking slave. Yeah, everything here combined, but it's the need to the desired, right? It's the needed to live, to needed to function, to needed to survive, to needed to thrive, to needed to exist, right? So my point with this is it seems a little disingenuous to say that we need to focus more of our funds into a arbitrary entertainment, luxury goods, all bullshit fucking movie entertainment industry market cap, instead of actually fucking focusing on like poor, homeless, medical needs, housing, all of this and that. It's like, you could give me $1,000,000, but if I don't have a fucking house and I can't get a house with $1,000,000, I'm gonna be dog shit depressed. I mean, obviously there's hotels, but it's like, you get what I'm saying, right? If I don't get any food or water, I'm gonna be pissed even if I get $1,000,000. It's like I'd rather have a sandwich right now. Like, jeez. Anyways, let's get back to the videos. We started detracted. But yeah. It's really
Okay. So let me give you this topic of conversation
right.
is not letting your why be your why not.
Right. So back to the needs. You need this, but saying I don't have not enough sleep isn't a reason to say I can't go out and work, because then you'll just always be tired, because you'll need to work eventually, and you'll just get into a position where you need to work an increasingly stacked amount of hours to get anything done. So I think in that regard, your why being your why not, it's just incredibly important to know why you're doing something and to focus on what actually makes you not do it. Right? So let's say you want to exercise, right? Like you said here. I want to exercise to get in shape. Okay. Today we exercise. And then tomorrow we'd say, oh, I'm not going to exercise. But my excuse is I broke my foot. Well, that's a fair excuse then. Ain't nothing wrong there. But there's other things you can do, right? So just because you broke your foot doesn't mean you can't, I don't know, lift some weights with your arms. Do some head workout. I don't know, but yeah, don't let your why be your why not is very, very crucial to keeping your sanity, because oftentimes people will go to a job, but they don't want the job, but they want the money from the job, so they'll be like, I don't know, I had a coworker like this. He would always be fucking asking if I could cover a shift for him, and then one time he asked, hey, can you cover my shift? And then he texts back, never mind, I need the money. So yeah, don't let your why be your why not. Fantastic video by Damone Kim. And finally, the last one.
What's up, guys? It's your boy Damone, and welcome back to another video. We're here at late night. I wanted to sit down and talk about a concept that I feel is really, really important. And that, my friends, is that motivation is for quitters. Okay? Explain to you what I mean.
Now, what I think is going to get into here is the need for motivation is something that only quitters will need, because quitters are the ones who feel like they need to be more motivated not to quit. And anyone who is actively not quitting is actively engaged, and they don't need motivation. They are motivated. There's a difference between things, right? They don't need motivation because they already are motivated. So that's the distinction I'm going to make here. But now let's.
Oftentimes in life, we find
Multiple
ourselves,
times.
I've done this to myself multiple times, where I'm sitting, hoping, waiting for permission, approval, acceptance, whatever. Something to spur me. I'm looking for a movie to watch on Netflix. I'm looking for pretty much anything that's going to motivate me in order to become a better version of myself. But let me give you an example of what extreme motivation is. On my TikTok, I was talking about, let's say you're at a party or at a bar. Somebody pulls out a gun, waves their gun in the air, starts shooting. All of a sudden, you have motivation, right? You're probably going to get the hell up out of there, run for your life because you want to live.
Now I'm tackling the guy. What do you mean?
Unfortunately, even though that's a very extreme situation, a lot of people, myself included, at points in my life, have taken that approach, hoping for something drastic to happen in my life that would spur me into action. But depending on motivation is fleeting. So what happens is
Okay.
once you
Yeah.
get into
Yeah. So yeah. Basically, it's the relying on motivation to keep you out of the mindset of wanting to quit. Right. It's 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 different than the concept of doing something for someone you love, but it's sort of in the similar vein of if you have to keep constantly looking over at the picture of your son or daughter or wife or whatever just to motivate yourself to stick in the job, that's what it would be, right? It's not healthy, it's not conducive to a meaningful life. It's really uh, almost I want to say self harm in a way, because you're sort of delusional. You're sort of like, no, I need to endure this pain. I need to endure this pain. I need to endure this pain. I need to motivate myself through this pain. But at the end of the day, there's just so many multitudes of things that don't really matter today. That the majority of the time you're motivating yourself to do something that's meaningless and ultimately just hurting yourself in the process mentally, if not physically.
a situation where you do have that rare feeling of I'm motivated, you'll then go and do something, but then that feeling will run out. It's like honeymoon phase in a relationship. It's not always sunshine and rainbows.
Yeah, and absolutely. Like if I let's say I needed to do something to motivate myself to make a video, I would never make videos. But right now, I'm just feeling motivated to make a video. I didn't drink a cup of coffee to get the motivation. I didn't smoke a ton of weed to be like, oh my god, I have great ideas right now. Let's go. I was just like, I kind of want to make some videos. I kind of want to express my feelings to you guys. I'm not feeling too good. Let's do it. Let's do it tomorrow. And we're here and we're doing it. So yeah.
Right? And then once that feeling runs out, you're left to deal with what's left. And that's your mental ability to make decisions and remain consistent. So I think ultimately it should be a decision as to how do I get better at making decisions every day? How do I gain control over my impulses so that I can be consistent over time? Not necessarily discipline, like things don't have to be perfect or spot on crazy every single time, but you do have to be consistent at whatever it is that you're doing. People ask me all the time, like, yo, how do I get started in content creation? I'm like, you make videos. But they're like, well, isn't there any secrets or techniques and strategies? I'm like, the strategies and techniques literally mean nothing if you're not going to do the work, right? It means nothing. Like all the tricks in the gym that someone could teach you mean literally nothing if you don't even go to the gym, right? So again, guys, people like motivation is great, but it's such a fleeting experience. And I feel like relying on motivation or hoping that you're going to feel good and want to work out or create a YouTube channel or start a business or whatever, right? Get a new job.
I will say, I feel like what you might be trying to get at, I don't know in this capacity, but like taking motivation like this and using it as a source of energy to then propel you to do something is like opioids, let's say, right? And we all know with opioids, the biggest issue with opioids is they're addictive, right? And this would be addictive because it helps you get somewhere you want. But it's also damaging into the fact that you need more and more to get the same level of pain relief, right? So with this, you need more and more motivation just to do your simple basic tasks in the day, right? Like, yeah, you'll see it with someone who's depressed. It takes them a lot more time, a lot many more days to take a shower. I'll just say it right here. It takes me a few more weeks than a normal person to take a shower. You know, it's about motivation. You know, it's like if you're motivated, you'll do it. If you're not, you won't. But then trying to give yourself the motivation to do something that you don't feel like you need to do for yourself, but you feel like you need to do for society, is extremely damaging to your mental health, because then you're working around a little gymnastics of how do I min max and do this correctly and do this incorrectly and blah blah blah, you know, and it just sort of begins to spiral in your head. Well, I did this because of that and that and that, but then I did that and that made that bad. So it's like I'm the one to blame because I'm doing all these things, thinking about how to do all these things, and it just it's really negatively compounding when you focus on just trying to be motivated. Because at the end of the day, what does the root of wanting to be motivated come from? It comes from sort of a lack of something, right? It comes from sort of a lack of drive, a lack of feeling like you're worth it, feeling like you're good enough, or something. Maybe, you know, feeling like you're not creative enough, right? You don't. Let's say you're like, I want to make YouTube videos, but you're like, I don't feel motivated. I don't feel like I have anything to add. You know, it's like motivation is only good when it's real, when it's not forced. You know, I got a alarm. It's 4 o'clock. Cool. And we'll wrap this video up.
Like, if you're just waiting for those moments to happen, by the time those extreme, drastic moments do happen, it's going to be too late.
Oh, yeah.
And typically, a message from your doctor is not the message that you want to be waiting for in order to get started on your life. Invest in yourself. Work harder on yourself than you do on, you know, in any other activity in your life. All right, guys. So, as I said, guys, relying on motivation is for quitters. But that's all I wanted to cover today. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. As always, this show. We'll see you guys
really great videos. I'll link them in the description below, but I just want to give my final thoughts on sort of this whole doing things for yourself and sort of being more, I guess, responsible for yourself, right? That's what all these 3 videos sort of encapsulated, right? It's you need to focus on what you're actually doing in terms of if you want to do it, right? You know, that was with the 9 to 5 or chase your dreams, right? So you want to focus on what you actually want out of life and how you want to get it. And then you want to say, what I'm doing, is that the most fulfilling? That doesn't mean the most optimal. That doesn't mean the most money making or whatever. It means, do I feel gratified more from doing this than the other thing that I'm doing, right? Like in the 9 to 5 or chase your dreams, let's say your 9 to 5 was you know, just shoveling leaves. You know, it's not really much of an impact or help or anything. Obviously, that's not what it was. But then let's say chasing your dream was like being a doctor. You know, obviously somewhat work and stuff. But I feel like if your dream is to be a doctor, your dream is to help people. And if your dream is to help people, you are going to be more gratified by being a doctor than by raking leaves. It would just make sense that way. Unless, of course, you know, you weren't confident in the doctor skills, and then you were like, I'm just going to kill my patients and all. And then you're like, well, that's not going to be beneficial. But in the practicality of succeeding in the dream, right, you would preclude that the dream gives you more value in your life, in gratitude, in enjoyment, in fulfillment, than just the 9 to 5. They can be one and the same. They also cannot. You know, it depends. Oftentimes, I would say that a 9 to 5 isn't your dream, just in the way that we phrase 9 to 5. You know, like, yeah, I'm going to my dream job today. You know, I'm going to go do what I love, right? It feels like if you love it, you're doing it as a hobby and you're not really caring about the time. But if you're doing, I'm just going to go to my 9 to 5, you're going to your place of work. You know, it feels different. There's a different connotation. There's a different note. There's a different attitude. You know, on to letting your why be your why not, right? It's very, very critical there too. focus on what you want to do with your life. So let's say you do want to be content creator. You want to say, okay, just because I might be putting out some bad content sometimes, that I think I'm fine with it, but I'm a little hesitant on other people, doesn't mean you shouldn't put it out there, right? You should always be your best self to avoid your worst self. On motivation for quitters, it's really self-explanatory. The more you motivate yourself, the more you're going to rely on motivation to do something, and the more that just is a crutch. It's almost like saying, I need to do a shower before I get in my car every time. Okay, well, what if you're an Uber driver? Right, that's not practical at that point. You know, like I sweat a lot. I'm doing this for the customers, but it's not practical at that point, right? So I don't know what that has to do with motivation or anything, but if you motivate yourself, you should only do it for the things that really matter to you. Because if you're trying to do it for something that doesn't matter to you, it's gonna end up with you just motivating yourself to do it, and it's not going to be as fulfilling, and it's going to be more stressful and more tiring because you're going to also be having to look for the motivation to do these things. um and I just think the important thing that you should be doing, and the main takeaway from all these is, don't let society or your view of what society wants you to do dictate what you do, right? So, when you're going to your job, or when you're, trying to decide where to work or something, right? Don't let people say, oh, well, you need to be making as much money as possible. You need to be doing this and that. So you need to work full time. You need to do this and that. Everyone will say what they believe to be the best option. However, they do not know what your availability is for those options. Like, working 40 hours a week might be physically practical for you, but mentally, way too much, right? So there's certain metrics and certain measures that are tangible and intangible and seen and unseen at certain degrees of interaction that do lead to heightened frustrations in the 9 to 5 field over the dream field. And I think that's where the motivation does come into play, because it feels like you need to motivate yourself to do the wrong thing in order to survive, and then you just get more and more frustrated at yourself, and then you start making excuses. So ultimately, you just really need to write a list and check it twice, and you're good to go. See ya.